Hi, this is Sam from Living and Working Abroad. In this month's webinar, we're in two phases. The first part looked at the battle lines being drawn for EU Brexit and how that was bringing clarity to the negotiations. And what I want to look in the second part is the questions we received from our clients and people through our Living and Working Abroad page, and answer some of those questions about how EU Brexit for expats is going to affect people living and working abroad. We've already published a guide on how Brexit will affect overseas property, pension and business for expats. So go along to our website at partnership.com to download a copy, but you can write to us as well and comment and ask questions on our Living and Working Abroad page or our blog at partnership.com. So the first question we got from Inga was, how is pet travel going to be affected by Brexit? This is an ideal metaphor for Brexit because a pet passport, once you've got that, it works for the whole of the EU. So one pet passport means you can take your pet to Cyprus or any other EU country subject to local rabies notifications. Means as long as you've got the microchip and the jab and the certificate passport from the vet, then you're free to move within the EU. But there are international guidelines and rules on pet travel on which the EU rules is based. The difference with the EU is that when you get an EU passport, it works for 27, 28 countries. Whereas outside the EU, a UK citizen would have to get a pet passport for each country that he travelled to. That would still mean that a UK expat with a pet would only need one pet passport to travel to the remaining 27 EU countries. But even so, today, a UK expat travelling to Russia or to USA or to the Middle East, to Dubai, would still need a pet passport to go to one of those countries as well. So those pet passports for those other countries are quite simple to get. They're quite unbureaucratic. So there is a procedure to get a pet passport for the EU. It will be similar to those in other countries around the world. And the only difference is that after Brexit, a British person may need to renew their pet passport and update it so that they are treated as a third country, i.e. UK citizen going in to the EU. And this is a metaphor for all the issues about the custom and trade treaties, that the laws between the UK and the EU are exactly the same on the day of Brexit. It's just that the protecting the four freedoms, the principles of the EU trade agreement are what is holding back a settlement. Plus, from the English perspective, from the British perspective, on the other hand, the EU is not allowed to negotiate with a member state, so they can't bring forward any proposals or provide any solutions before that date. So it's a very, very safe solution to look at how the EU or the UK look to a third party, third country business or individual, and then apply those rules, because that will be the worst case scenario after Brexit date. Second question we got this month was, what is my right to work? As an EU citizen, so a UK expat, right up to the 29th of March, can move to any other country and live and work there. Vice versa, any EU citizen can move to the UK and take up work. Once they're legally resident in those countries, after 5 years, they can apply for settled status or permanent residency and live in those countries up to all their life. So if you're an expat at heart and you've not relocated yet, now is the time to get your house in order and make your residency removal and get your house in order in your overseas location. So UK expats come to live in Cyprus, EU expats going to live in the UK. get settled before the 29th of March, and you can then, in the long term, acquire your right to live and work in Cyprus or in the UK. Slightly different after Brexit. So if you look at how Cyprus treats third-party countries, it is slightly different. So with Cyprus, a third-party national would have to show a minimum income of 15,000 euros a year. And obviously you have to show that you're established and you're living there as well. There are medical card requirements in medical insurance requirements in Cyprus as well, which the UK don't necessarily stipulate at the moment. There's a higher burden on income. For the UK, it's similar. A non-EU citizen or an EU citizen after Brexit would have to show an income of over £35,000 a year. So that's quite a lot higher than a free movement to be able to move in and work. And this is one of the big gambles and the big issues of Brexit, because the UK on the local people bleat about lower income, lower cost of living rises, but it's arguable that businesses have fed off low income labour coming in from the EU, and that's suppressed investment in productivity rises, which would have given the UK citizens a rise. So by Brexit, productivity should rise, investment by companies should rise, and therefore salary should rise in the coming years in a way that they've been suppressed for the last 10 years. So we will see about that. But an expat looking to relocate to the UK, even an EU citizen after Brexit, will have to have an income, a minimum income of £35,000 a year. So it's a very high level bar compared to Cyprus. For an EU expat or a non-EU expat to go and live and work in the UK now, or an EU expat after Brexit. If a UK expat wants to relocate back to the UK with their non-EU spouse, at the moment they have to show that they've got an income of 18,600. Now, if an EU spouse becomes a non-EU, and after Brexit, an EU spouse becomes a third, a non-European spouse. So an EU expat, a UK expat living in the EU that wanted to relocate to the UK with a spouse, today they can do that without restriction, and the EU spouse can live and work in the UK and take up that residency and then transform that to permanent residency and settled status. After Brexit, that EU spouse could be subject to this minimum earnings rule of 18,300. So it's something to bear in mind for people looking to retire back to the UK with a spouse that is not British, because after Brexit, that will have an initial impact to another group of people. So if you're looking to move to the UK or the EU, if you get that move now and you're registered before Brexit date is March 19 without a withdrawal treaty, but the movement rights will be extended to December 2020 if there is a withdrawal treaty. If you make your arrangements before that date and you've got your accommodation, your home, you're ordinarily resident in that country, then you'll be able to live and work there up to the rest of your life. Now, another point of interest, another question we got this month was on income and income tax and how pensions might be affected by Brexit. Well, not at all. So it's very, very simple. Tax is not a central issue of the EU. Yes, the EU control sales tax, VAT. Yes, they have financial control through the euro, but essentially financial control is still the responsibility of the individual countries within the EU. The UK have got bilateral double taxation treaties with many countries around the world, including Cyprus. So any UK expat living and working in Cyprus has got this wonderful position where they can enjoy up to £17,000 income without tax, or they can enjoy an unlimited pension income with 5% pension, or they can have 5% pension and £17,000 earned income without tax, or they can have £17,000 earned income without tax, £5,000 flat rate pension, and an unlimited amount of dividend and interest with the zero tax rate. Cyprus have a zero tax rate for expats who receive dividends or interest. So if you're an investor and you've got money, dividends and bank interest being earned, you'll pay 0% tax. If you have a service company or an investment company that you've loaned money to and you're receiving interest from that company or dividends from that company, no matter how much you're earning, you receive 0% tax. So it's a very attractive proposition for people to remain living and working with their pension and service company, contractor, holding company business in Cyprus. So there's more about this in our guide, how EU Brexit for expat affects overseas property, pensions and business. You can download a copy from our website at proactpartnership.com. I thank you sincerely for listening to this vlog, and we hope you can join us next time. Thanks very much from Proact Sam, living and working abroad at proactpartnership.com. Thank you very much.